Per usual, living on this channel is for educational purposes only, is not intended as financial advice. Not too much going on. We'll try to make this short and sweet. Not really a lot of signal out there. Got a surprise Tesla chart at the end for you Tesla bulls, of which I am not generally one, but the chart looks pretty good. So this week, the only thing that really matters is unemployment. You know, we've got ADP, we've got some other PMI, whatever. Like, okay, sure, those things are important. The macro boys and girls are going to get all excited about them, but really what's going to move the market is a unemployment rate that is above or below expectations in a big way. We'll see what the number comes out on Friday, but then D-Day would be FOMC and CPI on the same day. CPI first, 8:30 a.m., and then FOMC, that's June 12th. So that should be super duper fun. I assume the Fed sort of has the CPI number before the number goes out on days like that, but we'll see. Should be a grand old time. As far as what to expect here, price-wise, I've just been going through looking at previous cycle type data. This is one data point, Bitcoin index performance since halving from Check On Chain. And you can see the black line there nestled amongst the other cycles. Mostly we don't really do much of anything until the 100th day, thereabouts. I don't think this is going to be like the 2012 cycle. The only thing that could really interrupt, you know, the equilibrium here where nothing's going on would be economic data points, recessionary data points, rates coming down, presidential election type stuff, geopolitical type stuff, for good or bad, right? Both sides. Anything that shakes the equilibrium could be a catalyst in one way or the other. But I wouldn't expect too much until later on in the year. As far as flows are concerned for the ETFs, daily flows kind of tapered off here over the past week, still remain net positive on the flow side. You can see the weekly and monthly numbers. Monthly numbers were plus 2 billion. So look, we'll take it. It might not look like much. It might not feel like much price-wise. Eventually it's going to matter. And it's going to matter a lot more if we have a catalyst. But until then, we are post-halving, and we should expect eventual bullish things. You know, it's dangerous to say, but that's how cycles typically work. And if we look at the cumulative flows, we're almost at 14 billion here. As far as the actual price chart, pretty much in the same place we've been for the past couple weeks. Still above the daily cloud, still have a bullish TK cross. The technicals are firmly in the bullish camp. Might not feel like it, but we don't need to do anything and still be fine. We can go sideways in perpetuity here for quite some time into July, August. And the cloud would still be favorable for bullish continuation. This isn't about sniping a bottom, sniping a top. It's just the cloud telling you, look, we are on the right side of trend, and we may get a mixture of TK crisscrosses, cloud crisscrosses, right? Who knows? But this has a bullish continuation expectation currently as it sits. And if you measure the range higher with fibs, you get 90s-ish. Low time frames, I don't think there's much going on either. High time frames look fine. You know, I guess you could say, well, there's a TKC clamp here. Not really. We're not seeing a rising Tenkin with a flat Kijun. We're actually seeing the Kijun come up to the Tenkin here. This whole thing could be a cup and handle. This whole thing could be an inverted head and shoulders. You know, I've seen charts with BTC against M1, M2, whatever. Like, it's all favorable for us. Eventually, rates come down. Eventually, more money printing comes eventually. And that's how we win. Looking at the pitchfork, right smack dab where you'd expect us to be as far as the rate of change since the ETF approvals, above the 20-week, above the 200-day, and the Black Swan 200-week moving average is at 35K. So we're certainly at a much better place for further expectations of price appreciation here than we were at 75K 75 days ago. We've reset the moving averages, we've reset the cloud, we've reset a bunch of stuff. We just need a little nudge-a-rooney to push us over. This is still on the table as well. Again, I don't think it's a bull flag. We talked about this for a couple weeks now. But sure, if enough people think it's a bull flag and they measure it and whatever else, yeah, we'll take it, right? A lot of TA is just self-fulfilling prophecy. It's certainly not bearish. I can't make a bearish argument here. Maybe if you go down to an ultra-low time frame, you can say, well, there's a head and shoulders or something on like the hourly, but we've also had basically no volume, no volatility. Not really much of anything going on. Bollinger Bands have been tightening. That's how much of a low volatility environment we've had here. And again, there's no bias here because we're smack dab in the middle, right? We're in the middle of the pitchfork. We're exactly on the 20-day moving average. So we remain bullish until something happens otherwise, a catalyst one way or the other. Before I talk about alts here, let me mention today's video sponsor, Kraken Pro. Kraken Pro is a complete overhaul of the Kraken trading experience with a one-stop shop for advanced and professional traders. Kraken Pro enables efficient trading execution across multiple markets with a UI that allows for unique optimization tailored to your trading style. You can check out Kraken Pro with the link in the description of this video. Non-investment advice: crypto trading involves risk of loss. Cryptocurrency services are provided to U.S. and U.S. territory customers by Payward Ventures Inc., PBI, DBA, Kraken. Looking at some of these other charts, Cardano on the daily cloud, right? I don't care about anything that looks like this. There's a lot of charts that look like this. Below the cloud, below trend, you could say, well, this is a pending inverted head and shoulders, or this is a pending bottom. And that's where you lose me, right? Because it's pending. It could be a lot of things. This could be a macro head and shoulders, but it's certainly not bullish on trend yet. And then there's stuff like Ripple, which is just a massive turbo giant waste of time. Not sure why anybody ever thinks about it, but I do get questions about it, so I'll bring it up. There's nothing going on here. It's been below the weekly cloud since 2021. End of story. Now we have things like TIA on the daily, which I've made fun of previously for being a giant pile of bearishness, actually starting to bottom. So I would argue this is a pretty textbook Adam and Eve. It's starting to get potentially into the daily cloud. Is this going to move massively on its own? Probably not. It's a very much a PvP market right now. There's not a lot of excess money coming in outside of the ETFs. So you're going to have stuff rolling from meme coins into this or something else into this, right? But the technicals are on your side for potentially a bullish reversal here. There's even a ultra low time frame inverted head and shoulders on the end of this. So it wouldn't surprise me if this this tries to move up. There's also ENA, which has a inverted head and shoulders, which there won't be enough data on Kraken to see, but it's also something to watch this week. They just listed that on Kraken Pro. As far as ETH, above the daily cloud, really nothing to say. Decently far away from the TK lines. May need some time here to catch up with everything. Still bullish. Still could be a number of things. Cup and handle, inverted head and shoulders, bunch of stuff, right? Not going to deny any of it. It's not screaming breakout. It's not screaming, hey, this looks great. It's just sort of chilling at those post-ETF approval highs. Low time frames do look kind of interesting. You know, you don't like to see this when volume is zero. You really don't like to see bearish reversal patterns when volume is zero, unless you're bearish, which, hey, more power to you. This measures to basically 3,500 if this does break down. So what you'd want to see to invalidate this would be a high above 3,800. The problem with low time frames right now and low volumes, you might see a lot of things that just are noise because there's not really much going on. That's why volume on most breakout trades like this is super, super important to confirm that, yes, this is a breakdown. This isn't some random like drift through some random zone that the market really doesn't care about. ETH BTC remains bearish, regardless of what anyone wants to say. It's still inside the 2-day cloud, so at best it's neutral, but it's also below the 400-day moving average, which is effectively a 1-year moving average. And it's certainly within the confines of this down channel pitchfork. I get more bullish above all this stuff, certainly above the 2-day cloud. So 06 whatever. And this probably looks much, much better if we get there. But it's got to close there and stay there. It can't just wick there as it keeps wicking to the 1-year moving average there. Sol, similar. Not much going on. Got a Adam and Eve inverted risk here. You've got just slow bleed, nothing, right? But it is still above the daily cloud, bullish TK cross. It just, everything looks kind of lethargic. Like there's not enough as you go down the list here into stuff down the chain, you know, back to Kraken. Anything that isn't seeing X million volume, it's just going to be really hard to move that when nothing's going on, right? There's just no volume. Nobody's here. So I wouldn't get too discouraged, but I'm also not leveraging up 100x on anything right now because, you know, anything could happen. Sol could drop down to 140 and nobody would really care. But trend still remains bullish on that chart. Much like the ETH BTC chart, the Sol ETH chart also should be pretty interesting here if we do get the ETFs in a couple weeks or a month or whatever, and how the Sol chart reacts. We've already been told from CME that they will not be listing Solana futures. So that really kneecaps the probabilities and likelihood of a Solana ETF application anytime soon. Now, if BlackRock comes out and says, hey, we want a Solana ETF, then we party. But until then, I wouldn't expect anything else anytime super soon. And this chart did have arguably an ascending triangle at this point. It potentially is a failed ascending triangle, but it's still something that I'm definitely going to keep an eye on. Very interesting to watch over the next couple months. And on the other side of the coin with BNB USD, this to me, I mean, we'll just go to the weekly. I don't see this on any chart and think, oh man, that looks like a bearish reversal. This certainly looks, it almost looks painted. It almost looks fake. It looks that good to me on high time frames. And it certainly looks very good on the 8 hour, the daily, the 12 hour, whatever. The problem with this at this point is it hasn't broken out. Anytime you see a triangle pattern that gets to the very tip of the imaginary lines, usually not a good sign for the bias, the expected bias playing out. This is probably just a product of nothing going on. So I still like this trade. I think this chart looks bananas bonkers good on the weekly. And much like Tesla and much like TIA, I'm not a BNB fan historically. I just really like the chart. NIR still looks okay. You know, it's a sloppy mess. The previous multi-month inverted head and shoulders has kind of looks better, certainly. You know, I had a rising wedge here a little bit. I still like about a 50% move eventually. It's just, you know, everything just needs a catalyst, needs liquidity, needs something to come back into the market to take over. Render the same, much like Solana and ETH and BTC. It looks fine. It's above the daily cloud. It's consolidated. It would not surprise me if and when we get something to happen that all these charts do rather well. But until then, you know, I wouldn't expect any miracles. These charts that I'm pointing out certainly look much better than most everything right now. DOGE, an example of that, where tried to break out, failed. Now it's double top back into the 8 hour cloud. It's just a ranging mess right now. I think cycle wise, cycle long, whatever, however you want to think about this over the next 8 to 12 to 16 months, certain things will eventually do well. But, you know, do you want to be holding these on leverage, eating funding, just waiting? Some people will, some people won't. Doesn't look like imminent breakout continuation in the moment, at least until a catalyst occurs. PEPE broke out quite a bit, formed a rising wedge, and it's been kind of lights out ever since then. It did hit the fib target from the inverted head and shoulders, and now it's got a low time frame head and shoulders risk here. So I think I'd be very careful with anything that has already moved up to 300% in the past couple weeks, which is a gift from the gods on high, based on what we're seeing with a bunch of the other charts. BONK, similar to NIR, had a really good setup, really nice breakout. Didn't quite get to the target. Doesn't look great here, admittedly, but certainly it's probably above the daily cloud. I don't think there's a big issue there. And the only reason I'm really pointing those out is because nobody really cares about anything else. Again, just look at the volumes on exchanges, right? You've got BTC, ETH, Sol, meme coin, AVAX, NIR, Ondo, meme coin, right? So like, it's meme coins and BTC, ETH, Sol. That's about it. Nobody really cares about anything else right now. There's not really enough juice in the ecosystem to support much of anything. Switching gears to Tradfi. This is BITX. This is the 2x ETF. This is a higher fee than BITU. Just keep that in mind if you do trade this. One is futures, one is spot. Point is, the way this is positioned here on the low time frame cloud, the low time frame legacy cloud, still looks good. Still very much allocated into something like this myself. Coming off of a falling wedge, inverted head and shoulders successfully, and it's neutral on the 4 hour, still in the 4 hour cloud. We potentially see something on this in the next couple of weeks. Certainly by the 12th, I'd imagine we see some movement in the market. If Powell comes out and says, you know, we're going to cut rates in September or something, right? Whatever. Doubt he says that, but if he does, markets will certainly move on that. So we're firmly neutral here, but I lean bullish on that chart. WGMI firmly neutral, but again, if this is a mining ETF for Bitcoin, I lean bullish on this. It's been a massive ranging mess since 2024 rolled around, but it's starting to look better. We'll put it like that. It doesn't look amazing, but it's starting to look better. Some of these mining companies' charts are sort of all over the place. I'll look at more of those tomorrow, but in aggregate, it's starting to look a little better. MSTR in the 4 hour, still way above previous rate of change, and maybe it's just a new paradigm for MSTR. You know, maybe it's going to have its GME moment like all these MSTR bulls think is going to happen, and it's going to have this massive short squeeze, and it's going to get added into the S&P 500 and whatever else. On trend, it looks okay. It's not fully bullish on the 4-hour cloud, and much like BTC, you know, BTC equivalent would be basically 1,000 on MSTR back in that rate of change midpoint. Is this a cup and handle? Sure. Is this, I don't know, inverted head and shoulders up here? Like a mega shoulder, head, shoulder? Sure. Above 1,800, everybody is going to be screaming their head off. Enjoy, but that may take a while. So this looks okay. Doesn't look amazing, just looks okay. Even coin sort of trying to turn itself around here post ETH, ETF news, 4-hour neutral, still in the long-term trend channel pitchfork here, and may approach a buy zone based on the pitchfork this week. But it looks okay, right? There's no, to me, there's no setup, there's no trade there. If anything, of all the charts, finally something like this, where there's a potential move here within the next few weeks, I'd imagine. So just based on the cloud, Tesla is finally closing within the daily cloud. So that meets edge-to-edge criteria with a bullish TK cross. Previously it had a massive triple top head and shoulders. That broke down into a falling wedge. That broke up. I don't have those drawn on the chart, but you can watch some of the old videos, and I talked about that. Down here, this is starting to look reminiscent of a potential multi-shouldered inverted head and shoulders, potentially a diamond bottom. You can sort of see it there. It wouldn't really make sense for me if this pulled up and did well, but the TA is the TA. So definitely something I'll be watching this week. That's all I have for this one. Not much going on. Hopefully much more this coming week and the week after. Throw me a like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.